Karen sent fake security after my wife, not knowing she's the sheriff. I never thought moving into a quiet suburban neighborhood would turn into the kind of battleground I once only saw in movies. My wife, Emily, and I had bought a cozy home in what was supposed to be a safe community, a place to raise our kids, grow old together, and enjoy some peace after years of hard work. But then, there was Karen. Every neighborhood has one, but this woman had taken it upon herself to run the wall like a tyrant. And when she turned her eyes on Emily, she had no idea who she was messing with. It started small, snide remarks about the paint color of our mailbox, a note about how long the kids' bikes were left out on the lawn. Harmless things at first, but then, Karen crossed the line. One evening, while I was working late, Emily was out in the yard planting flowers. Karen stormed over, shouting that Emily was disturbing community aesthetics with her choice of blooms. My wife, calm as always, simply smiled and told her she was free to file a complaint. That's when Karen's face turned red with fury. She spat out, "You'll regret this. I'll have security deal with you." Emily didn't tell me about it right away, she didn't think it was worth the trouble. But a week later, while I was home finishing some paperwork, we heard heavy pounding at the door. When I opened it, two men stood there, wearing cheap black uniforms with the word, "Security," printed across their chests. Their badges looked like they'd been bought off eBay. One stepped forward and barked, "We've had multiple complaints. This woman," pointing at Emily, "needs to comply with WA regulations or face removal." I froze. Removal? What authority did they even have? But before I could say anything, Emily stepped forward. And that's when the truth came crashing down on them. She squared her shoulders, her calm voice carrying the weight of someone used to being in control. "You boys got some ID. Because I've been the county sheriff for the last 6 years, and I've never once heard of the WA having the power to send armed men to someone's door." Their faces went pale. One of them stuttered, we were told," but Emily cut him off with a tone so sharp it could slice steel. "What you've done is impersonating law enforcement. That's a felony. And you just tried to intimidate a sworn sheriff in her own home." I'd seen Emily at work before, but in that moment, I remembered exactly why she commanded so much respect. She reached for her phone, already dialing dispatch, and within minutes, real deputies were pulling up in their cruisers. The fake security didn't even try to run, they were too stunned. Karen came stomping out of her house, screaming at the top of her lungs. "You can't arrest them. I hired them. They're WA security." Her voice cracked with desperation as the deputies placed the men in handcuffs. Emily turned toward her, her voice steady but firm. "Karen, hiring people to impersonate officers, sending them to harass and threaten residents, that's not only illegal, it's dangerous. You put your whole neighborhood at risk." But Karen wasn't listening. She kept shrieking, pulling her hair, demanding that the WA board back her up. The board members, however, were already gathered nearby, their faces pale with shame. One older man, the WA president, finally stepped forward and said, "Karen, you've gone too far. This isn't leadership. This is abuse." In the days that followed, the fallout was massive. Karen was removed from the WA board permanently. The fake security guards were charged with impersonating officers and trespassing. And the neighborhood began to realize that Karen's power had only existed because everyone had been too afraid to stand up to her. For Emily, it wasn't about revenge. She told me later, power only means something when you use it to protect people, not control them. Her words stuck with me, and they stuck with the neighborhood too. Slowly, neighbors started opening up, helping each other out more, treating each other with kindness instead of fear. The garden Emily had planted, the one Karen screamed about, began to bloom beautifully. Neighbors even came by to add their own flowers, creating a shared space of color and peace. It became a symbol that sometimes, standing firm against bullies doesn't just protect your family, it can change an entire community. And as for Karen, she moved out a few months later. No one missed her. In the end, Emily never raised her voice, never lost her cool. She didn't need to. She was the sheriff. And sometimes, the strongest power you can have is the calm confidence of knowing you're doing the right thing.